with sunshine and glow. Tune in, folks, it's about to start. Knowledge drops like a work of art. Roll the dice and take your chance. Rick's got moves that make you dance. Words so sharp they'll pierce the sky. Join the ride and we'll all fly high. Welcome to the Rick Patterson Show, where the stories and the insights grow. Miami heat and truth will unveil. Grab your seat and set your sail. Oh, echoes ring from ocean's edge. Rick's voice shouts from the ledge. City lights and the starry view. Rick's got the knowledge that's fresh and new. Wisdom here is like pure gold. In Miami tales unfold. Keep your mind open wide. Rick's teachings will abide. Welcome to the Rick Patterson Show, where the stories and the insights grow. Miami heat and truth will unveil. Grab your seat and set your sail.
Well, good evening, good evening. This is Rick Patterson, and I'm with you live tonight on a special YouTube as well as a Facebook broadcast. Doing something a little bit different. Let me just go over here and see if everyone's logged in on Facebook yet. And if you haven't, take a moment, send out a link to everyone. And yeah, I'm on Facebook, ready to go. On YouTube, ready to go. On Vimeo, ready to go. Well, welcome to the Sunday Night Live presentation. I don't do a lot of live presentations, and there's a reason why. Is because over the years, as I've been trying to do this on my own, I don't have someone to help me do the cameras and do all of the switching back and forth, and so I have to try to do a post-edit video. But tonight, we're going to do something different. And the reason that we're doing something different is because this Sunday morning we had a very special broadcast teaching at the live presentation. It was really quite a remarkable teaching. I did so without any notes, without any PowerPoint presentation. And I just went up and started to give some information that I thought was pertinent to some of the subject matter that's going on today in the kingdom of God. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what was recently revealed in the Great Pyramids. Okay, and so many things are happening so quickly. You can get lost in all of the hyperbolic nonsense that we see with politicians and the elections and this and that, and you can get really wasted on that. Okay. But I want you to know that before we get there, go ahead. I'm going to take some more time before I get into today's subject, Secrets of the Great Pyramid Exposed. Share the link, share with somebody, get them on board right now, and let's do something here tonight.
Everyone's a singer, finding notes in the air. Everyone's a dreamer, dancing without a care. Everyone's a winner, racing through the day. Everyone's a player in their own way. Find the song that sets you free. Dream a dream that lets you be. Play the game you know you'll win. Life's a stage, let's begin. Everyone's a poet with words to unfold. Everyone's a scholar in stories untold. Everyone's a lover with passion and might. Everyone's a runner in their own race. Everyone's a seeker in their own quest. Everyone's striving to do their best. Everyone's a dancer in their own space. Everyone's a runner in their own race. Everyone's a seeker in their own quest. Everyone's striving to do their best.
Well, that was a song I recently wrote, and hope you enjoyed the song. Well, let's get into today's teaching. And hopefully everyone's going to be blessed today. A couple of weeks ago, there was released a report and video documentary concerning the Great Pyramid and what was under the Great Pyramid. I'm sure some of you have seen it on different websites and YouTube and so forth. But tonight I'm going to talk to you about that. We're going to look at that in a completely different venue. So let's get ready, because let me play a little video. It's 4 minutes and 47 seconds about what was discovered recently about the Great Pyramid.
Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi, involved in radar and remote sensing research with the University of Strathclyde, published peer-reviewed research in 2022 via MDPI entitled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography Reveals Details of Undiscovered High-Resolution Internal Structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Their research was conducted using SAR data, synthetic aperture radar, along with proprietary software developed by Filippo Biondi that transforms the radar signals into phononic information, which allows for the detection of millimetric vibrations. This cutting-edge technology is capable of revealing underground structures invisible to traditional methods and revealed internal structures never seen before. Having established their expertise in using SAR to explore pyramid structures non-invasively, a recent press release on their current project was released last Saturday. This March 15th press release summarized the key findings in the team's research of the second largest pyramid of the Giza Plateau, known as the Khafre Pyramid, and what they found was astonishing. The analysis of dozens of tomographic SAR images obtained from different angles enabled the 3D reconstruction of inside the pyramid of Khafre and deep beneath the surface of the plateau. Near the base of the pyramid, 5 identical structures are seen, connected by geometric pathways. Inside each of these are 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. Below these 5 structures are 8 cylindrical structures, which appear to be vertical wells, hollow inside, and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. These 8 vertically aligned cylindrical structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters, where they all merge into 2 large cubic structures, measuring approximately 80 meters per side. The entire structure extends approximately 2 kilometers beneath the surface and extends beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex. Mainstream Egyptology tells us that the Giza pyramids were tombs for pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, and that they were built around 2500 BC using ramps, sledges, and levers. But the redundant mathematics in their construction, which include pi, the golden ratio, and the speed of light, along with the testimony of today's expert architects, suggests that the official story does not hold up. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent SAR data shows what appears to be a mechanical or functional system, and this has been hypothesized in the past. Nikola Tesla believed that the pyramids could harness Earth's natural frequencies. This arguably inspired his experiments in wireless energy transmission and scalar waves. In the Giza power plant, Christopher Dunn argued that the Great Pyramid was a power-generating machine using resonant and acoustic forces to convert mechanical stress into electricity. In the Giza Death Star, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a weapon of mass destruction using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics to focus energy as a scalar weapon. The cylindrical wells could be conduits for energy or sound waves, and the cubic structures might serve as energy storage or stabilization units, akin to components in a large-scale weapon or generator. And the detection of vibrations in the pyramid's internal structures reflects all of these ideas. The Khafre project hopes to plan an excavation in order to discover more about this underground structure, but history shows that this will be very difficult to get approval for. Greg Reese reporting.
Now, that particular report was published about a week ago on the Greg Reese Report. You can download it and use it for yourself and for your own information. But why am I bringing this up at this point? This morning on Sunday, I basically began to share and teach about the Great Pyramid. Those who know anything about my ministry and have been in our church for many years know that the Great Pyramid is one of my very, very topical interest points. You know, give you an example, I've had pastors inviting me to go on a trip to see the tomb of Jesus, to go to Israel, to go to Jerusalem. And I've never been interested in going to Israel. I'll just be honest with you. It's, I know I've seen plenty of videos, I've seen plenty of things, but I have absolutely have wanted to go to see the Great Pyramid. I had a chance to do so about 20 years ago, and unfortunately, I was unable to make the trip that was already planned. But hopefully, before this lifetime wraps up, I'm going to be able to get in there and begin to see some things and go through the Great Pyramid. Now, why is this important? For years, I have taught and I've hypothesized that the Great Pyramid was not, let me repeat, was not built by the pharaohs. My position has always been that in all probability it was built by Enoch, post or pre Noah's flood. Now, what most people don't really know and don't really understand, and it's not because you are stupid, it's because you're ignorant in the facts that took place. Most people don't realize that the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx itself were basically buried under sand for centuries, and it wasn't until the 1800s, 1900s that they began to excavate the pyramids and the Sphinx. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, no, that's great. Look it up, okay? Now, the second thing that you need to understand is that the Sphinx, on the Sphinx, there is erosion from watermarks, okay? Not sand erosion, but it is obviously water, and you can look that up also. What does that mean? Well, in my understanding, that means that the Great Pyramid was built before the great flood of Noah. And that during that time, prior to the great flood, people lived for enormous years. I mean, they lived for hundreds of years. Enoch, for example, lived 365 years. Methuselah lived, 967 or 969 years, one of those two. I'm not sure, can't remember exactly. But these people, I want you to understand, live for hundreds of years. And because of their capacity to live for hundreds of years, they had information and knowledge. Think for a moment. Think for a moment. I mean, uh, I know a lot, and I'm 72 years old, be 73 this year. I know it's hard to believe that I'm this good looking at 73, but I am. So, anyway, here's the deal. If you lived to be 500 years old, many of them did in the Old Testament. Methuselah lived. Enoch, 365. If you live for 365 years, do you think you might know a little bit more than the average person that lives today, sitting around looking at their iPhone and watching TikTok videos? Think about it. Do you realize that these technologies that all of a sudden that was taking place during this time? And so what is the hypothesis here? Now, why will the Egyptians never allow the excavation? And why is this sonar imagery so significant and so important? Now, the primary reason Egypt will never at this point allow excavation under those pyramids is because it would break the narrative. You hear me? It would destroy the Egyptian dynasty narrative forever. And you need to understand that the Egyptian economy is, in major part of its economy is the tourist travel to Egypt to see the pyramids and to see Lenox and all of the areas of the great pharaohs and so forth. So you would destroy that imagery, you would destroy that narrative if in fact you begin to excavate and you find that there was indeed a power plant system that, in fact, if you study anything about Nikola Tesla, Tesla absolutely was enamored by studying the Great Pyramid and believed he himself that the pyramid was, in fact, an energy mechanism, an energy source. Now, those of you who know anything about Nikola Tesla, you know that out in Colorado, he built a tower. Now, notice the tower. And in that tower, he was able to generate electricity from the earth, not with oil, not with gas, not with diesel, but with enabled him to drill into the earth and begin to access the earth electrical field and transmit it 23 miles away to light an entire city without wires or without telephone poles or without underground wires going there. Now, that should be amazing to some of you. But what happened? Why wasn't Tesla and his system of electricity adapted? Well, yeah, if you remember, Tesla worked for Thomas Edison for a period of time, and they part company based upon their dispute about AC and DC technology, direct current and alternating current. Then Tesla was courted by Westinghouse to use a new system to be able to transmit electricity. Now, Westinghouse had cornered the market on copper and wires. And so his design was we were going to join up with Tesla, create the energy, transmit it over Westinghouse's wires and transmission system, and thereby being able to charge people and to continue to make money indefinitely. Now I want you to think for a moment, what would happen if tomorrow, the world would recognize the Tesla understanding of wireless and absolute free energy, and what would happen to the world's economy if everyone had access to free electricity? Think about it for a moment. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in the Sahara, doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Do you think that that would transform the world economy? That would eliminate the need for all of these wars and fighting over oil and natural resources because everyone would have free electricity. That was a part of what Tesla intentions were. But we have this ongoing battle this idea that if you control it, you can charge people for it. That's why we are always charged every month for our electricity, our water, and everything else. Now, what I want to challenge you with is, and do your own research on this, because when you do your own research, you're going to be absolutely amazed. You see, I'll give you a narrative. Here's a good narrative. Everyone's saying, "Oh, we got to go to electric vehicles, a Tesla or some other electric vehicle." Now, I have no problems with electric vehicles. In fact, I'm very close to my personally buying a Tesla. It would be very appropriate for me here in Miami, Florida, with all the traffic. I'd like to get a self-driving one, autonomous one, that I could just sit back and relax and let it take me where I want to go. But why do we have this battle now between combustion energy, hybrids, and electric power vehicles? Well, it's the whole narrative to save the earth, to save the climate. We're involved in climate change, global warming, and we've talked about this in the past. And you've got to do some research on this. Don't just, if you have not figured out, you and I have been lied to for our entire lives. We've been lied to. The government consistently lies. I mean, just recently we had the release of the JFK presidential assassination records. It is absolutely clear now that Lee Harvey Oswald was not a sole shooter in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And if you look at the report and the autopsy pictures, it is absolutely clear that John Kennedy was shot from the front and not from the back. Oh no, that breaks your narrative. That breaks what we've been taught all of our lives. And that is exactly what I want to bring you to think about today. We've been lied to. We were lied to about the you know what, stick it in your arm and everything's safe and effective. We were lied to about all of the stuff that's going on in the world. You were lied to when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. You've been lied to when it comes to Israel and Palestine. You see, everything is a manipulation of reality. So when you come to energy and you come to the ancient civilizations and you come to what took place. Now, Enoch, in the time of Enoch, and all that time, you had in Genesis chapter 6, you had the Nephilim. These were angels that came to earth, had intercourse with women, and brought forth giants, the Nephilim. These angels that left their first estate brought with them technology, insight that was, in fact, extraterrestrial. Okay, ET, extraterrestrial. Someone said, "You believe in ETs?" God sent his son from heaven. That's an extraterrestrial. Angels are extraterrestrial. Satan is extraterrestrial. You understand what I'm saying? So what happened when you have people who are living hundreds and hundreds of years, and now we have the angels coming and imparting to mankind information? Now, God's Lord's prayer was, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." The plan in the garden was to bring God's heaven on earth as it is in heaven. That earth would be a representative of God's heaven. You see, when Adam and Eve were in the garden, they didn't have to go to work. They didn't have to go out and plant. They didn't have to go out and go to work 9 to 5, 7 to 3, 11 to 7, whatever the shift would be. No. God had provided everything that they needed to survive and to thrive on this planet. Now, obviously, when the Adam and Eve sinned and they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, then the curse came and it said that man would have to work every day by the sweat of his brow. Women would give birth and labor and childbirth and have pain and suffering in childbirth. I mean, so there was consequences. But I want you to imagine for a moment, what would happen if there was free electricity to every place on the earth without wires? You see, Nikola Tesla was the one who began to give the very first that we know of, technology for your wireless cell phone. Now, Nikola Tesla, when he dies, it's interesting. One of the greatest entrepreneurs and creators, and on this in the last 200 years, I think Elon Musk is on par with that as far as his ability to use technology. Uh, Ramanujan, the Indian brilliant mathematician who you don't even hear about in America, from India, who literally had a IQ and had the ability to hypothesize and create mathematic models that even Einstein couldn't figure out. You have to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on that you've never been exposed to. So, for example, what would happen if everyone had free energy? Well, that's impossible. No, it's not impossible. I want to suggest to you the earth is the Lord's, that God created this world and everything that's in it, and there is no limitation on God's resources on this planet. I had this discussion this morning. And I said, for example, how many believe that the world is overpopulated? And people raised their hands, overpopulated. Well, I live in Miami and there's a lot of congestion. There's a lot of people living down here, and it's difficult transportation wise as far as all of the congestion. But if you go anywhere north of Miami-Dade County, you're going to find open space that you can't even hardly imagine. You can drive for miles without seeing a city. But let's think about this. Take out your calculator. Take 9 billion. Let's say there's 9 billion people on the planet. I think there's probably less than that. They're saying 8 billion. I think they're probably less than that. I mean, how are you going to count a 9 billion population? You can't. So they make estimates. But let's suppose it's a 9 billion population estimate. Take out your calculator, do a little research, and calculate if you gave every person, that 9 billion on the planet, every person, man, woman, and child, not every family, every man, woman, and child, if you gave them 1/4 of an acre to live on. That's about 11,000 square feet. That's bigger than a lot of places that most people live in. But it's a normal residential plot of land. And then you begin to calculate 9 billion times, and let's round it off to 11,000 square foot. Go and look up what is the actual square footage or the actual acreage of the United States of America. Let's include Canada. Let's include Mexico. You will find that you could put everybody in the world, all 9 million people, 9 billion people rather, in the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico, and give them all a 1/4 acre of land, and the rest of the planet would be empty. Oh, I don't believe that. Do a little search on your computer and begin to compute it, okay? Yeah, I'm telling you the truth. So, one of the things about this electric source, the potential of the Great Pyramid, is that it leads us to the possibilities of something far greater than what we are experiencing in our limited concept of resources today. You see, the hybrid, the combustion engine, and all of the electrical cars and all this stuff. What are they trying to do? They're trying to give you greater mileage and less pollution and whatever, yada, yada. We already have the technology right now. Right now, you can look it up. There's a man named Pooch, Putschch. Look him up. He has a diesel engine and a diesel car that already gets 100 miles per gallon. 100 miles per gallon. And you thought your hybrid of getting 32 was impressive. Well, let's talk about diesel for a moment. Let's talk about Rudolph Diesel. Rudolph Diesel was the one who invented the diesel engine. And he had a very, very aggressive plan and thought about the world. He believed that if the world was going to prosper and abundance was going to take place, then you would need a massive ability to produce food and advance the agriculture of the world. And so, what he did, he created a diesel engine. Why? Because a diesel engine runs on oil that can be derived from corn, soybeans, any harvestable crop, it can be extracted. Now, for example, a gallon of diesel fuel cost you about 10 cents a gallon to produce. Now, what was his vision? His vision that you could have farmer, every farmer could not only produce his own agriculture to sell, but he would also produce an unlimited supply of his own diesel fuel to run his tractors, to run his trucks, to run his cars right on his property. Well, that was one of those things that, Ford and General Motors and all these big boys really don't want people to do. Rockefeller, Standard Oil, and all the big oil, you don't want somebody to be able to produce their own power, their own diesel fuel, their own food, because we lose a paycheck. You see, some of you think that we're going to have a cure for cancer. Not going to have any time near in the future, a cure for cancer, because there's too much money to be made in cancer treatment. Anyway, so Rudolph Diesel, after he had been approached by all the oil companies, all the auto companies, and the executives, said, "No, I'm not selling my technology." So he then goes and he says, "I'm going back to Europe." And after he's had all these meetings, and quite interesting enough, is that many of these oil moguls went with him on the cruise. And lo and behold, Rudolph Diesel fell off the boat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and was never seen again. Oh my God! You mean Yeah, oh yeah. Think about it. Here's a guy, this inventor of this great diesel engine, who had a vision to liberate farmers and mass produce agriculture at a much cheaper, less expensive capacity. And all of a sudden, on his way back home, he falls off the ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And if you believe that, you've got some problems, okay? It doesn't happen that way. So you have Diesel, who goes out here and says, I can create an engine that runs on seed oil. Every farmer can now produce his own biofuel, create his own diesel fuel, and have a huge capacity to reduce the cost of agriculture on the planet. And of course, that was summarily stopped at his demise and his death. Now, we still have diesel, but why is diesel fuel, let's say $4 a gallon, when your regular fuel, gasoline, which is out of oil and the ground, how come it's $3 and diesel is $4 or more per gallon? Why? You tell me. But the truth is, the diesel is very inexpensive to produce. The diesel fuel is easy to produce, cheap to produce, but they keep it arbitrarily higher so people don't shift over to a diesel system. Even though we have cars right now. Okay, all right, do this. Don't even believe me. The diesel engine is 50%, 20 to 50% more efficient than a gas combustion. Now, we're impressed about a hybrid that can get 25, 32, maybe 40. A Prius, I think, can get 52 miles per gallon. But we have a car right now. Look it up. Look up the diesel car that can run and travel for 104 miles per gallon. Is it being produced? No, of course not. Is it being controlled? Yes. So when we go back to the secrets of the Great Pyramid and the pyramid having the potential of being a ancient energy power source. What would happen if all of a sudden that technology and the Tesla technology was released on this earth? We wouldn't be fighting wars over oil. We wouldn't be having all of the craziness that we're having. Remember, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There is no limitation to the resources available on this planet. God has provided everything you and I needed, including all the free electricity that man will ever be able to use and much more. Well, someone says, oh, well, we got solar, we got wind. Tesla had a energy system that was so far advanced and passes solar and wind and battery technology, it's ridiculous. But we want to ignore that because we want to continue the narrative. So the Greg Reese report concerning the pyramid and the power plant underneath it is a very interesting topic. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to begin to look into it, because as you look into it, you're going to be absolutely amazed of what's taking place. Okay, let me see. All right, let me give a couple notes here, because I told you. I told you, for example, the Great Pyramid. It was buried under sand until the 1800s, 1818, and in the 1830s, we begin to clear away the sand and the debris around the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx. Remember, I told you my opinion. You can argue this, and you can debate with me all you want. I don't really care if you believe this or not. I believe that the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, was created, and it was created by people who lived prior to the Great Flood, who lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, that had the capacity to understand nature, understand the world, and were receiving information from angelic beings. Now, so for example, the Great Sphinx, okay, this was built, and it was literally buried. It was literally buried. And it wasn't until later on Napoleon comes and he attempts to partially clear it, okay? That was back in 1798 and 1801. Napoleon, they looked at this, they said, what is this? That's when they begin to brush away the sand. Do you understand we've got pyramids? Now, I want you to understand, if in fact the pyramid, as we just saw in the Reese report, and I'm going to play it at the end so you can see it again. If those pyramids were created as a source of energy, which is hypothesized by the sonar imaging that was taken, do you realize there are pyramids all over the planet? There are pyramids in Central America. There are pyramids even in the United States that are buried, that are being excavated. There are pyramids in Europe. There are pyramids in the Asian continent. There are pyramids everywhere. What were these pyramids all about? Go to India and you see all of these elaborate structures they call temples and so forth. You're going to look and you're going to see things that will begin to change and give you an idea that something is a little bit different. The architecture, for example, if you go to India and you see the buildings and you see the construction of these ancient temples and so forth, and compared to what we build today, we build basically a steel shed somewhere and we put a cross on it and call it a church. Okay, let me go here. Let me look here. So in Genesis chapter 5, verse 21 through 24, Enoch is a righteous man, lives to be 365 years old, and God takes him. He didn't just die a natural death, but he was translated in a divine realm, and he escaped death. Now, if you look at the timeline of the Great Pyramid and Enoch, you're going to get into some really interesting things. Now, some of the sources that you might be able to look at is Joseph's Pillars in the Antiquities, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Josephus, claims that Seth's descendants, Enoch's lineage, built 2 pillars, one of brick, one of stone, to record knowledge before the flood. Some theorists equate the stone pillar with the Great Pyramid, attributing its initiation to Enoch. Did you hear what I said? Josephus, in the writing of Josephus' Pillars, in his writings of Antiquities, Volume 1, 2, and 3, he says that Enoch built 2 pillars, one of brick, one of stone, to record knowledge before the flood. I suggest to you, when it talks about in Isaiah chapter 14, where God would put a monument in the center of the earth as a representative of his power and his glory, that was the pyramids. If the flood destroyed post-flood civilization, the pyramids' survival could suggest that they were built with divine foresight, aligning with Enoch's role as a prophet-like figure. And you can look at the book of Enoch. You can look at the writing of Enoch, and you'll begin to understand that he is telling you some stuff that people don't want to even talk about. Is everybody still in the right place? I hope you're listening to me. If you are, put a text up there, say something to me, or I'm just talking to myself. That's okay. I do that often anyway. But obviously, the Great Pyramid suggests that there's something more advanced, something more secretive than we understand. Let's go through that video one more time, so those of you who are just getting on.
Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi, involved in radar and remote sensing research with the University of Strathclyde, published peer-reviewed research in 2022 via MDPI entitled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography reveals details of undiscovered high-resolution internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Their research was conducted using SAR data, synthetic aperture radar, along with proprietary software developed by Filippo Biondi that transforms the radar signals into phononic information, which allows for the detection of millimetric vibrations. This cutting-edge technology is capable of revealing underground structures invisible to traditional methods and revealed internal structures never seen before. Having established their expertise in using SAR to explore pyramid structures non-invasively, a recent press release on their current project was released last Saturday. This March 15th press release summarized the key findings in the team's research of the second largest pyramid of the Giza Plateau, known as the Khafre Pyramid, and what they found was astonishing. The analysis of dozens of tomographic SAR images obtained from different angles enabled the 3D reconstruction of inside the pyramid of Khafre and deep beneath the surface of the plateau. Near the base of the pyramid, 5 identical structures are seen, connected by geometric pathways. Inside each of these are 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. Below these 5 structures are 8 cylindrical structures, which appear to be vertical wells, hollow inside, and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. These 8 vertically aligned cylindrical structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters, where they all merge into 2 large cubic structures, measuring approximately 80 meters per side. The entire structure extends approximately 2 kilometers beneath the surface and extends beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex. Mainstream Egyptology tells us that the Giza pyramids were tombs for pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, and that they were built around 2500 BC using ramps, sledges, and levers. But the redundant mathematics in their construction, which include pi, the golden ratio, and the speed of light, along with the testimony of today's expert architects, suggests that the official story does not hold up. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent SAR data shows what appears to be a mechanical or functional system, and this has been hypothesized in the past. Nikola Tesla believed that the pyramids could harness Earth's natural frequencies, This arguably inspired his experiments in wireless energy transmission and scalar waves. In the Giza power plant, Christopher Dunn argued that the Great Pyramid was a power-generating machine using resonant and acoustic forces to convert mechanical stress into electricity. In the Giza Death Star, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a weapon of mass destruction using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics to focus energy as a scalar weapon. The cylindrical wells could be conduits for energy or sound waves, and the cubic structures might serve as energy storage or stabilization units, akin to components in a large-scale weapon or generator. And the detection of vibrations in the pyramid's internal structures reflects all of these ideas. The Khafre project hopes to plan an excavation in order to discover more about this underground structure, but history shows that this will be very difficult to get approval for. Greg Reese reporting.
Okay, that was a continuation or a second showing on that presentation because some of you missed it going into this. But let me just read some things to you that I think it's kind of interesting. The recent claim suggesting that the sprawling subterranean system beneath the Giza Plateau, including 8 vertical shafts descending to over 2,100 feet, spiral pathways, cubic chambers detected by the Synthetic Aperture Radar, or SAR. If this is real, this infrastructure could mirror Tesla's concept in several ways. Now, I told you earlier that Tesla was fascinated with the technology that he believed in the pyramids as being a energy generator system. So, how's it? The deep shafts and aquifers. The shafts reportedly extended to the limestone bedrock might reach underground water source or aquifers, much like the Warden Cliffs iron and copper rods plunged into groundwater. Tesla believed aquifers enhanced conductivity, allowing energy to flow through the earth. If the Giza shafts connect to water, they could theoretically serve a similar role. The cubic and multi-level structure could act as resonant cavities, concentrating electromagnetic or seismic energy. Tesla's tower to use resonance to amplify power. Studies like the 2018 ITMO University research shows that the Great Pyramid focused electric magnetic waves between 200 and 600 meters per wavelength into its chambers, a phenomena Tesla would have recognized as a natural oscillator. The conductive material of the rich granite, originally limestone casing that faced, Tesla experimented with the conductive materials to channel energy. If underground complex used similar properties, it could have harnessed the Earth's vibration and atmospheric ions as he proposed. Now, so what he's telling you, and what this video is telling you, and what Tesla was telling you, is that if these shafts, if these potential subterranean system that was underneath the Great Pyramids was indeed a electrical generating, it would be able to create free, limitless power and energy for all of humanity. And if the pyramid was a energy plant, it could have powered the advanced civilization, lighting temples, driving machinery, and stabilizing the Earth's geology. Okay, go and do a little research on Google. You'll see in the hieroglyphics, and you see in the various carvings and so forth in Egypt. You'll see, put in there the Egyptian light bulb, and you'll see light bulbs that were literally like our normal light bulbs today, that were being engraved in hieroglyphics and engraved in granite and on carvings in Egypt, still exist today. So evidently they had understood something a little bit more. So why do I think this is important? I think it's important because number one, um, it should get you to start thinking. Maybe we have been lied to. Not maybe you have been lied to, but it maybe get you to think. Maybe I've been lied to all these years. Maybe what I think was true is not always true. You know, I give you an example. Do you realize how insane our country has become? Do you have any idea how amazingly stupid people are and how fallen our generation has become? You know, if you go to the mall, what you're going to find is people walking with looking at their cell phone. You see, I go out and and go to Tropical Park here, take my son out for a drive at Tropical Park when he's able to, and you'll see people walking around the track looking at their cell phone. You'll see people at the with a group family picnic at the lake there. Almost all of them. I saw a family of about 25 family members at a barbecue at Tropical Park, and I stopped. I pulled over for a moment, and out of the 25 there was 19 of the 25 all looking at their phones. They weren't talking to each other. They were not even present to the barbecue. Think about it. They were somewhere else. They were on their phone talking or dealing with something else or watching a TikTok video or some other nonsense. So when you begin to think about it, people have been so. We have a Supreme Court justice right now. In her confirmation hearings, was asked what was the definition of a woman. We have a woman who's asked, "Can you give me the definition of a woman?" And this woman couldn't tell you what a woman was. We are living in a culture where they tell you trust the science, and if you just take a little boy and cut his penis off, he becomes a girl. Really? Really? And men can have babies. It's funny because when I started getting into some of these arguments or discussions, well, I don't even like to call them arguments. I was talking to a group 2 days ago, as a matter of fact, and this guy was talking, and as he was talking, he said, I like to argue and discuss with people and debate with people. I said, oh, okay. And so there was a friend of mine there, and I said, and he knew this guy. I said, let me ask you a simple question. Is this guy intelligent enough for me even to bother discussing or debating him on any topic? And my friend goes, no, he's not. He just likes to argue. You see, it's not a matter of just being able to debate. It's not about an argument. It's about having information that will begin to challenge your paradigm and your thinking to be able to bring you into a limitless reality in God. God has a plan for this planet. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need to pray right now for our country. Pray for President Trump. Pray for all the negotiations that are taking place, because we are in a tenuous point right now when it comes to potential of World War III. Oh, you're still talking about what? No, just, you know what? Just ignore what I say. But do your own research and begin to think about it. Is, in fact, the Great Pyramid an energy power plant? I don't know. You think about it. You do some research, and you send me a text message. And anytime you want to contact me, you can contact me at rick@patterson.org. You can give by texting 73256, 73256, Christ Life Center, one word. And come and visit us at Christ Life Center every Sunday morning, 10:47 a.m. at 9775 Southwest 87th Avenue here in Miami, Florida, in the beautiful 305. I'm out of time. I hope you've learned something today. I hope you've shared something. Share this video with somebody. And if you have questions, send them to me. I had a great teaching this morning, and we had the teaching, and there were some people that were there for the very first time, and I said I'm not going to ask them much. Go to any of these other churches. Go to all the churches that are basically a Christian nightclub. You know what I'm talking about. Lights are down low and strobe lights and mood synthesizers. I said, and go there and raise up your hand and say, Pastor, I have a question. You're not going to get your questions answered. You're not going to get your questions answered. Not going to happen in this lifetime. Oh, well, you'll have to schedule a time. You're out of order. You come to Christ Life Center, I'll give opportunity for people to ask questions. They can even challenge me. But if you're going to challenge me, you better be ready and you better be prepared and you better have your scripture ready to defend your position. it'll be it'll be lively, it'll be friendly, and we'll leave as friends. We may not always agree, but we can live as friends on this planet. Listen, I love you. I'm out of time. And thanks for being with me tonight. Share this link. Share this video with us. I love you. God bless you. Remember, Jesus loves you. I love you. And Jesus is Lord. And don't you ever, ever forget it. Thanks for being with me.